The stars looked beautiful through the windows of the human ship. Captain Richard Hayes stood quietly on the bridge, watching space stretch out before him. His ship, the Galileo's Hope, moved slowly through empty space between human territory and alien territory. For the first time in human history, they were meeting aliens face to face. 3 months ago, humanity received a signal from space. The Zorgathi Empire wanted to talk. They were reptile-like beings from a solar system 40 light-years away. At first, everyone on Earth was excited. This was proof that humans were not alone in the universe. The governments of Earth worked together to send a diplomatic mission. Richard was chosen to command the ship that would carry humanity's representatives. Ambassador Linda Martinez stood near Richard, looking at the alien ships on the screen. She was a smart woman who had spent 20 years working in international relations on Earth. Now she had the biggest job of her life, speaking for all of humanity. Next to her was Dr. Benjamin Cole, a scientist who specialized in alien biology and communication. He adjusted his glasses nervously as the Zorgathi ships came closer. Security Chief Karen Wright checked her weapon systems one more time. She was a former soldier who had seen combat during the resource wars on Earth. Her job was to keep everyone safe. She did not trust the aliens completely, even though the meetings had gone well so far. The negotiations had been positive for 3 months. The Zorgathi seemed interested in trade and cultural exchange. They shared some basic scientific information. They talked about establishing embassies. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Humanity was about to join a larger community of intelligent species scattered across the galaxy. But today felt different. Richard noticed that the Zorgathi ships were positioned in a strange formation. They had moved closer than usual, almost surrounding the human vessel. He mentioned this to Karen, who nodded. She had noticed it too. A communication signal came through. The face of Commander Vector appeared on the main screen. He was the leader of the Zorgathi delegation. His skin was covered in green and brown scales. His eyes were yellow with vertical slits like a snake. When he spoke, a translation device changed his words into English. "Captain Hayes," Vector said. His voice sounded cold and formal. "I must speak with you about an important matter." Richard straightened up. "I'm listening, Commander. What do you need to discuss?" Vector's expression changed. The friendly diplomatic mask disappeared. His eyes became hard and calculating. "Your species has attracted the attention of the Zorgathi Empire. We have been watching you carefully. We have studied your history, your technology, and your capabilities. We have reached a conclusion." Linda stepped forward. "What conclusion is that, Commander?" "Humanity shows promise," Vector said. "But you are young and inexperienced. You do not understand how the galaxy works. There are dangers you cannot imagine. Pirates, raiders, hostile empires. You need protection. You need guidance," Benjamin frowned. "We appreciate your concern, but humanity has survived many challenges. We can take care of ourselves." Vector made a sound like a laugh. "You think you can, Doctor. But you are wrong. This is why we have decided to take action. Ambassador Martinez and Dr. Cole will come aboard our flagship. They will remain as our guests while humanity considers our proposal." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen. Richard felt his blood run cold. "What proposal?" "Simple terms," Vector said calmly. "The Zorgathi Empire will provide protection for human space. In exchange, you will grant us exclusive trading rights. You will share your military technology with us, and you will pay us tribute from your outer colonies. Resources, manufactured goods, and scientific data. Think of it as an investment in your future." Karen's hand moved toward her weapon. Richard held up his hand to stop her. His mind was racing. This was not a negotiation. This was extortion. The Zorgathi were taking hostages and demanding payment. "Let me make sure I understand," Richard said slowly. "You are holding our people hostage and demanding that we pay you?" Vector's eyes narrowed. "Such crude language, Captain. We are offering protection. Your people will be treated well as long as humanity cooperates. This is standard practice in the galaxy. Lesser civilizations always need guidance from their betters." Linda looked at Richard. Her face was pale, but her voice was steady. "Captain, we should consider their offer carefully." Richard knew what she was really saying. Do not do anything stupid. Do not start a fight. But he also knew something else. If humanity gave in now, they would be seen as weak. Every species in the galaxy would try to take advantage of them. They would spend the next 100 years being bullied and exploited. Commander Vector, Richard said carefully, I need to consult with my government. This is not a decision I can make alone. Vector nodded. Of course. You have 12 hours to respond. After that, we will take Ambassador Martinez and Dr. Cole onto our ship. We will begin negotiations with Earth directly. I suggest your government chooses wisely. The screen went black. Richard turned to his crew. Everyone was looking at him, waiting for orders. Karen, I want full security protocols. Lock down all systems. Prepare for possible hostile action. Karen nodded and moved quickly to her station. Communications. Get me a secure channel to Earth Defense Command. Priority 1. I need to speak with Admiral Patricia Monroe immediately. Linda approached Richard quietly. Captain, what are you thinking? Richard looked at her. I'm thinking that we're about to teach the Zorgathi Empire something important about humanity. We don't negotiate with hostage takers. We never have. We never will. Benjamin looked worried. But Captain, they have 6 warships. We have 1 diplomatic vessel. If this turns into a fight, we cannot win. Maybe not, Richard said. But we can send a message. And sometimes the message is more important than the battle. The communication officer called out. Captain, I have Admiral Monroe on secure channel. Richard sat down in his command chair. Put her through. Admiral Patricia Monroe appeared on the screen. She was a veteran of many wars. Her hair was gray, but her eyes were sharp and clear. She had earned her position through courage and decisive action. When she spoke, people listened. Captain Hayes, I received your alert. Brief me on the situation. Richard explained everything. The Zorgathi demands, the threat to take hostages, the 12-hour deadline. When he finished, Patricia was quiet for a moment. So they think they can extort us, she said finally. Her voice was cold as ice. Stand by, Captain. I need to consult with the Secretary of Defense. Do not surrender your crew. Do not agree to any terms. We will handle this. Understood, Admiral. The screen went dark. Richard looked around his bridge. Everyone was tense, waiting to see what would happen next. Outside the window, the Zorgathi ships floated in space, confident and threatening. Richard thought about Earth, about humanity's long and violent history. Humans had fought wars over land, resources, and ideas. They had almost destroyed themselves many times. But they had also learned important lessons. One of those lessons was simple. Never reward bad behavior. Never let bullies win, because if you did, they would keep coming back. The Zorgathi were about to learn that lesson the hard way. Admiral Patricia Monroe stood in the command center at Earth Defense Headquarters. The room was filled with holographic screens showing ship positions, star maps, and communication channels. Officers moved quickly between stations, coordinating information from across human space. Patricia had called an emergency meeting of the highest military leaders on Earth. She was 70 years old but still strong and sharp. She had fought in the resource wars 30 years ago when nations on Earth battled over water and rare minerals. She had seen the worst of humanity and the best. She knew how to make hard decisions under pressure. And right now she was facing one of the hardest decisions of her career. Secretary of Defense Gregory Palmer entered the room. He was a former Marine with silver hair and a square jaw. He had served in combat before moving into government. He understood military matters better than most politicians. He looked at the tactical display showing the Zorgathi ships surrounding the Galileo's Hope. Admiral, what is your assessment? Gregory asked. Patricia pointed to the screen. The Zorgathi have 6 warships in the neutral zone. They are demanding tribute and exclusive trade rights. They have threatened to take Ambassador Martinez and Dr. Cole as hostages if we do not agree to their terms. Gregory's face darkened. How did our intelligence miss this? We thought they were friendly. They were friendly until they thought they understood us, Patricia said. According to their pattern, they approach new species with diplomacy. They study them. Then they make their move. Apparently, most species in the galaxy accept these protection arrangements. They see it as the cost of doing business. But we are not most species, Gregory said. No, sir, we are not. Other military leaders joined the meeting through secure video channels. General Robert Chen commanded the Marine Forces. Admiral Helen Brooks led the Navy. Director Paul Martinez ran intelligence operations. They all listened as Patricia explained the situation. What are our options? Gregory asked. Patricia brought up another display. Option 1, we negotiate. We give them some of what they want. Maybe not everything, but enough to get our people back safely. And then what? Robert asked. Every other alien species hears that humanity can be pushed around. We spend the next century fighting off extortion attempts. Exactly, Patricia said. Option 2. We refuse their demands and prepare for military action. Helen leaned forward. You are talking about starting a war over 2 hostages. That seems extreme. With respect, Admiral, I am talking about establishing a precedent, Patricia said firmly. If we pay this ransom, we signal to the galaxy that humans can be intimidated. But if we show them what happens when someone threatens us, we will never face this problem again. Paul spoke up from his screen. Our intelligence suggests the Zorgathi Empire controls about 20 solar systems. They have a significant fleet. If we go to war with them, we could face serious casualties. But we have advantages, Patricia countered. Our technology is more advanced than they realize. Our weapons are better. And most importantly, we have something they do not expect. Resolve. They think we will back down. They are wrong. Gregory was quiet for a long moment. Everyone waited for his decision. As Secretary of Defense, he had the authority to authorize military action. But this was bigger than a simple military operation. This was about defining humanity's place in the galaxy. Admiral Monroe, Gregory said finally, what exactly are you proposing? Patricia stood straighter. I propose we give the Zorgathi one chance to release our people peacefully. We send them a clear message. Humanity does not pay ransoms. We do not negotiate with hostage takers. They have 1 hour to return Ambassador Martinez and Dr. Cole. If they refuse, we take our people back by force. The Galileo's hope is not a warship, Robert pointed out. Captain Hayes cannot fight 6 Zorgathi vessels alone. Patricia smiled. He will not be alone. The 5th Fleet is currently on training exercises in the Titan sector. That is only 3 hours from the neutral zone at maximum jump speed. I propose we reposition them just outside sensor range. When the deadline expires, they jump in. The Zorgathi will find themselves facing 30 human warships instead of 1 diplomatic vessel. Helen nodded slowly. That could work. The shock alone might make them surrender. And if they do not surrender? Paul asked. Patricia's expression was hard. Then we disable their ships and board their flagship. We take our people back, and we make it clear to every species watching that this is what happens when you threaten humanity. Gregory looked at each of his military leaders. General Chen, can our Marines handle a boarding action if necessary? Yes, sir. We have trained for hostile alien environments. We can breach their ship and extract the hostages. Admiral Brooks, can the 5th Fleet handle the Zorgathi warships? Without question, sir. Our ships are faster and better armed. If it comes to a fight, we will win. Gregory turned back to Patricia. And you believe this is the right course of action? I do, sir. We have a saying on Earth. We do not negotiate with terrorists. The Zorgathi are acting like terrorists. If we give in now, we will face this same situation again and again. But if we stand firm, we establish our reputation. Other species will think twice before trying to extort us. Gregory nodded slowly. Very well. Admiral Monroe, you have authorization to proceed. Move the 5th Fleet into position. Instruct Captain Hayes to deliver our response. Make our position absolutely clear. Yes, sir. What exactly should that response say? Gregory's eyes were cold. Tell them that humanity does not pay ransoms. Tell them they have 1 hour to release our people. Tell them that if they harm a single human, we will destroy their entire fleet. And tell them that this is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. Patricia allowed herself a small smile. I will compose the message personally, sir. The meeting ended. Officers scattered to their stations to begin implementing the plan. Patricia opened a secure channel to Admiral Victor Santos, commander of the 5th Fleet. Victor, I need your ships in position near the neutral zone. Maximum stealth. You will jump in on my signal. Victor was an experienced commander who had served with Patricia for 20 years. He understood immediately. We are moving now, Admiral. We'll be in position within 90 minutes. Good. And Victor, be ready for combat. The Zorgathi might not back down. Understood. The 5th Fleet will be ready. Next, Patricia opened a channel to Captain Hayes. His face appeared on her screen. Tense but determined. Captain, you are authorized to deliver our formal response to the Zorgathi. I am sending you the exact wording now. You will give them 1 hour to comply. If they refuse, the 5th Fleet will arrive to support you. Richard nodded. Admiral, are we really prepared to go to war over this? We are prepared to defend our principles, Captain. And one of those principles is that we do not abandon our people. We do not pay ransoms. We do not let bullies win. Send the message. Yes, ma'am. Consider it done. Patricia ended the call and sat down at her command station. Around her, the operations center buzzed with activity. Ships were moving into position. Weapon systems were being checked. Marines were preparing for possible boarding actions. Earth's entire military machine was shifting into high gear. Gregory appeared on her screen one more time. Admiral, I just spoke with the President. She supports our decision, but she wants me to ask you one question. What is that, sir? Are you absolutely certain this is the right move? Once we send that message, there is no going back. Patricia did not hesitate. Yes, sir. This is the moment that will define humanity's future in the galaxy. We can be victims or we can be free. I choose freedom. And freedom requires courage, Gregory smiled. That is what I told the President you would say. Good luck, Admiral. The screen went dark. Patricia took a deep breath and looked at the clock. In 1 hour, the Zorgothi would receive humanity's answer, and the galaxy would learn what it meant to threaten a human being. Captain Richard Hayes read the message from Earth Defense Command 3 times. Each word was carefully chosen. Each sentence was clear and direct. There was no room for misunderstanding. This was not a negotiation. This was an ultimatum. He turned to his communications officer. Send this message to Commander Vector. Direct transmission. Make sure he receives it personally. The young officer nodded and began transmitting. On the bridge, everyone stopped what they were doing to watch. They knew this was a historic moment. Humanity was about to draw a line in the sand. Either the Zorgothi would respect that line, or there would be war. The message read, To Commander Vector and the Zorgothi Empire, humanity has reviewed your demands. We provide the following response. First, we do not recognize your authority to hold our people. Second, we do not pay ransoms under any circumstances. This is a fundamental principle of human civilization. Third, you have exactly 1 hour to release Ambassador Linda Martinez and Dr. Benjamin Cole. Return them to this vessel unharmed. Fourth, if you do not comply, we will take military action. We will disable your ships. We will board your flagship. We will retrieve our people by force. Any casualties among your crew will be unfortunate but acceptable. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. You have 1 hour. Choose carefully. Signed, Captain Richard Hayes, Earth Defense Force, speaking on behalf of all humanity. As the message transmitted across space, Richard felt a strange calm settle over him. He had spent his whole career preparing for moments like this. He had trained for combat. He had studied strategy and tactics. But nothing could really prepare someone for the possibility of starting humanity's first interstellar war. Linda Martinez stood next to him. Captain, that message leaves no room for compromise. That is the point, Ambassador. Compromise is what they expect. Compromise is what every other species gives them. We need to show them that humans are different. Benjamin adjusted his glasses nervously. But what if they call our bluff? What if they think we will not really attack? Richard looked at the scientist. Then they will learn that we do not bluff. On the Zorgothi flagship, Commander Vector received the human message. He read it once, then read it again. His second-in-command, a younger officer named Shalek, watched his commander's face carefully. This is unexpected, Vector said slowly. They are refusing our terms. Should we proceed with taking the hostages? Shalek asked. Vector was silent. He had used this strategy successfully on 7 different species. Each time the target civilization had negotiated. Some had given everything demanded. Others had bargained and compromised. But all of them had eventually paid. Because that was how things worked in the galaxy. The strong took from the weak. It was natural. It was expected. But these humans were not behaving according to the pattern. Their message was aggressive. It showed no fear. Either they were incredibly foolish, or they had resources and capabilities that Zorgothi intelligence had missed. Sir, what are your orders? Shalek pressed. Prepare to take the hostages as planned, but increase our defensive readiness. Something feels wrong about this situation. Yes, Commander. As the minutes ticked by, tension grew on both ships. Foe, the Galileo's hope. Karen Wright ran through combat scenarios with her security team. They were a diplomatic vessel not built for war. But they had weapons, they had shields, and they had people who knew how to fight. If it comes to combat, our priority is survival, Karen told her team. We need to last long enough for reinforcements to arrive. That means protecting our engines and our power core. Route all available energy to shields. 45 minutes passed. Still no response from the Zorgothi. Richard opened a channel to Admiral Monroe. Admiral, no response yet. They are either discussing options or preparing to move against us. Patricia's face was calm on the screen. The Fifth Fleet is in position, Captain. On your signal, they will jump in. Admiral Santos has 32 warships ready for combat. Richard felt relief wash over him. They were not alone. If the Zorgothi attacked, humanity would respond with overwhelming force. Thank you, Admiral. With 10 minutes remaining, a new transmission came through. But it was not from Vector. It was from Ambassador Martinez. She appeared on screen, standing in what looked like a detention cell on the Zorgothi ship. Her face showed signs of rough treatment, but her eyes were fierce. Captain Hayes, this is Ambassador Martinez. They moved Dr. Cole and me to their flagship 20 minutes ago. We are being held in secure cells. They want me to convince you to accept their terms. Linda paused, then spoke clearly and firmly. Captain, do not give them anything, do not negotiate. You know Earth's policy, we do not pay ransoms. Dr. Cole and I understand the risks of our mission. Stand firm. Show them what humanity stands for. The transmission cut off. Richard felt pride surge through him. Even as hostages, his people were showing courage. They were not begging for rescue. They were reinforcing Earth's position. Karen spoke quietly. 5 minutes, Captain. Richard opened a channel to all stations on his ship. Attention all crew. In 5 minutes, our deadline expires. The Zorgothi have not released our people. They have moved them to their flagship. This means we will proceed with our planned response. I want everyone to understand what we are doing and why. Humanity has principles. We do not abandon our people. We do not pay ransoms to those who threaten us. If we surrender now, we will be targets forever. Every species in the galaxy will see us as weak. But if we stand firm, if we show courage, we earn respect. So we will get our people back. Whatever it takes, all hands to combat stations. The crew moved quickly to their positions. Engineers reinforced power systems. Weapons officers armed every gun on the ship. Medical staff prepared for casualties. Everyone knew what was coming. 2 minutes remained. Vector transmitted one final message. Captain Hayes, you are making a terrible mistake. Accept our protection. Save your people. This is your last chance. Richard responded immediately. Commander Vector, you are the one making a mistake. You think we will back down. You think we are like other species you have intimidated. You are wrong. Release our people now. You have 90 seconds. On the Zorgothi flagship, Shalek watched the countdown. Commander, they really are not going to negotiate. What do we do? Vector stared at his tactical display. The human ship was still there, engines powered, weapons armed. It was not running. It was not pleading. It was waiting, like a predator ready to strike. For the first time in his career, Vector felt doubt. Sir, 30 seconds. Vector opened his mouth to give orders, but he hesitated. Something was wrong. These humans were too confident, too calm. They had to know something he did not. On the Galileo's hope, Richard counted down the final seconds. 10, 9, 8. Karen's hands moved over her weapons controls. Ready, Captain. 3, 2, 1. Richard's voice was cold and clear. Time's up, Commander. You made your choice. Now live with the consequences. Admiral Monroe, execute Operation Hardball. Bring in the fleet. Space itself seemed to tear open as 32 human warships jumped into normal space around the Zorgothi formation. One moment, the area was empty except for the 7 ships. The next moment, it was filled with Earth's Fifth Fleet, weapons hot and shields raised. On the Zorgothi flagship, every alarm began screaming at once. Tactical displays lit up with red indicators showing hostile vessels surrounding them from all directions. Shalek stared at the screens in shock. "Commander, where did they come from?" Vector felt his blood run cold. The humans had baited them into a trap. While he was focused on the diplomatic vessel, they had positioned an entire battle fleet just beyond sensor range. Now that fleet had them surrounded and outgunned, Admiral Patricia Monroe's face appeared on every Zorgathi screen. Her expression was hard as stone. "Commander Vector, this is Admiral Patricia Monroe of Earth Defense Command. You are surrounded by 32 warships of the 5th Fleet. Our weapons are locked onto your vessels. You have exactly 60 seconds to release Ambassador Martinez and Dr. Cole. 60 seconds.
After that, we open fire." Vector tried to think.
His 6 warships were designed for intimidation and patrol duties. They were not built to fight a full human battle fleet. Every tactical calculation showed the same result: total defeat within minutes if combat began. "Sir, we must respond," Shalek urged. "What are your orders?" Vector opened a channel to Admiral Monroe. "Admiral, there is no need for violence. We can discuss terms." "No, there are no terms," Patricia said flatly. "Release the hostages, now, 45 seconds. But surely we can negotiate a reasonable compromise. We both want to avoid bloodshed." 30 seconds, Commander. I will not repeat myself. Release them or we disable your ships and board you by force. Choose." Vector looked at his tactical officer. The young Zorgathi's face was pale. Around the bridge, his crew waited for orders. They were all military professionals, but they were not ready to die for a failed extortion scheme. 20 seconds. Vector realized he had no choice. The humans were serious. They really would attack, and his people would die for nothing. "Shalek, release the hostages. Bring them to the shuttle bay immediately." "Yes, Commander." Vector spoke into the communication channel. "Admiral Monroe, we are releasing the hostages. Please do not fire." "Smart choice, Commander. We will verify they are unharmed. If they have been injured in any way, there will be consequences." 5 minutes later, a small Zorgathi shuttle left the flagship and flew toward the Galileo's Hope. Captain Richard Hayes watched it approach on his view screen. Karen Wright had security teams ready in the docking bay, weapons drawn just in case this was some kind of trick. The shuttle landed. The airlock opened. Ambassador Linda Martinez stepped out first, followed by Dr. Benjamin Cole. Linda's face showed bruises and her uniform was torn, but she was walking on her own. Benjamin's arm was in a crude bandage, clearly broken, but otherwise he seemed okay. Richard met them in the docking bay. "Ambassador, Doctor, welcome back." Linda managed a tired smile. "Thank you for not negotiating, Captain. I was worried you might actually consider their demands." "Not a chance, ma'am. We do not pay ransoms. Not ever." Benjamin looked around at the security teams. "Did you really bring an entire fleet?" 32 ships, Richard confirmed. Admiral Monroe wanted to make sure the message was clear. Linda shook her head in amazement. The Zorgathi never saw it coming. They thought we would fold like everyone else. They were wrong, Richard said simply. "Let's get you both to medical." Once the hostages were confirmed safe and receiving medical attention, Admiral Monroe addressed Commander Vector again. Her voice was cold and formal. "Commander, you and your fleet will now return to Zorgathi space. You will depart immediately. Any delay will be considered a hostile act." Vector's pride was shattered, but he was not ready to give up completely. "Admiral, what about our diplomatic mission? What about trade negotiations?" "There will be no trade negotiations," Patricia said firmly. "Not with your government. Not after what you tried to do. You attempted to extort humanity. You took our people hostage. These are acts of hostility. Your diplomatic mission is over. You are now enemies of Earth. But surely you can see this was a misunderstanding. We were following standard protocols. Your protocols are not acceptable to humanity. But I want you to understand something very clearly, Commander. I am sending you home alive, so you can deliver a message to your government. Are you listening?" "I am listening, Admiral. Humanity is entering the galactic community. We will be fair trading partners with those who deal honestly with us. We will share scientific knowledge with those who share with us. We will defend allies who stand with us, but we will not be threatened. We will not be extorted. We will not be intimidated. Any species that attempts what you tried today will face the full military might of Earth. We do not negotiate with hostage takers. We do not pay ransoms. and we never forget those who harm our people. Make sure your Emperor understands these facts." Vector felt the weight of his failure crushing down on him. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. But worse than that, he had started a conflict that his people could not win. The humans were stronger than anyone had guessed. Their technology was better. Their resolve was absolute. "I will deliver your message, Admiral," he said quietly. "Good. Now leave. You have 10 minutes to begin your departure. If you are still here after that, we will disable your engines and tow you out of the neutral zone. Go." The Zorgothi ships turned and began moving away from human space. Their formation was broken. Their confidence was shattered. As they left, every human ship tracked them with weapons locked. It was a message in itself. "We are watching you. We are ready. Do not test us again." On the Galileo's Hope, Richard stood on the bridge watching the Zorgothi retreat. Karen joined him at the window. "Think they learned their lesson, Captain?" "They learned something," Richard said. "They learned that humans are not easy targets. They learned that we keep our word. And they learned that threatening us has consequences." Linda Martinez, her bruises now treated by medical staff, came onto the bridge. "Captain, I need to file a formal report about what happened on their ship." "Were you mistreated, Ambassador?" "They were rough when they moved us to the cells. Benjamin's arm was broken when he tried to resist. But they did not torture us. I think they genuinely believed we would cooperate once we understood their position." "They miscalculated," Richard said. "Badly," Linda agreed. "But Captain, what happens now? We just made an enemy of an interstellar empire. The Zorgothi control 20 star systems. They have a fleet 10 times larger than what we saw today." Richard turned to face her. "What happens now is that we show the galaxy who we are. Yes, we made an enemy. But we also made a statement. Every other species out there is watching. They are seeing that humanity cannot be pushed around. Some will respect that. Some will fear it. But none will try what the Zorgothi tried, at least not without thinking very carefully first." Admiral Monroe's voice came through the communication system. "All ships stand down from combat alert. Maintain defensive posture. Captain Hayes, good work today. You and your crew showed real courage." "Thank you, Admiral. We were just following orders." "You did more than that, Captain. You showed the galaxy what it means to be human." Monroe out. As the Fifth Fleet began departing back to their patrol routes, Richard felt exhaustion wash over him. The crisis was over. His people were safe. But he knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had just announced itself to the galaxy in the loudest way possible. Now they had to live up to the reputation they had just created. 3 months passed after the incident with the Zorgothi. News of what happened spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Different species had different reactions. Some were impressed by human courage. Others were concerned about human aggression. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humanity was not a species to be taken lightly. The Zorgothi Empire issued a formal apology. Their emperor removed Commander Vector from command and punished several other officials who had approved the hostage plan. They requested permission to restart diplomatic relations. Earth agreed, but only under strict conditions. No more protection schemes, no more tribute demands. Just honest trade and mutual respect. Ambassador Linda Martinez was promoted to lead humanity's first formal delegation to the Galactic Council. This was a group of 12 advanced civilizations that governed relationships between species. They met on a neutral station called Unity Point, orbiting a white dwarf star in unclaimed space. The station was enormous, home to thousands of diplomats, traders, and observers from across the galaxy. Linda stood in the council chamber, a vast circular room with seats arranged in tiers. Each species had its own section. The Zorgothi sat far to her left, refusing to make eye contact. Other species watched her with various expressions: curiosity, caution, and in some cases, respect. The council speaker was an ancient being from the Talquiri collective. Its body was crystalline, glowing with soft blue light. It spoke through a translation device that rendered its thoughts into language other species could understand. Ambassador Martinez of Earth, we have reviewed your application for full membership in the Galactic Council. Your species meets the basic requirements: faster than light travel, stable planetary government, and proven capacity for interstellar diplomacy. However, there are concerns about recent events. Linda stepped forward. Honorable Speaker, I am prepared to address any concerns the Council may have. A delegate from the Valen hegemony spoke up. The Valens were a species that resembled tall, thin insects with multiple arms. Ambassador, your species nearly started a war over 2 hostages. Many council members find this response disproportionate. We value peace above all else in this chamber. How can we trust that humanity will not respond to every conflict with military force? Linda took a deep breath. She had prepared for this question. Delegate, with respect, I would like to correct a misunderstanding. Humanity did not nearly start a war. We prevented future wars. Let me explain. She activated a holographic display that showed data collected about the Zorgothi protection scheme. The Zorgothi Empire has been using this strategy for 70 years. They approach new species with friendly diplomacy. They study them. Then they demand tribute under the guise of protection. According to our research, 11 different species have been paying these tributes. Some for decades, the chamber murmured. Several delegates exchanged uncomfortable glances. Linda continued. If humanity had paid this ransom, we would have established a pattern. Every opportunistic species in the galaxy would have seen us as targets. We would have faced extortion attempts for generations. But by refusing to negotiate, by showing that we will defend our people at any cost, we sent a different message. We established that humans cannot be intimidated. This actually promotes peace because potential aggressors now know the cost of threatening us is too high. The council speaker was silent for a moment. Your logic is sound, Ambassador, but your methods were aggressive. Our methods were effective, Linda replied firmly. We prefer diplomacy. We seek cooperation. We want to be constructive members of this council. But we will not be victims. We will not be enslaved. We will not be exploited. If that makes us seem aggressive in the eyes of some, so be it. We would rather stand alone with our principles intact than compromise those principles for acceptance. Another delegate spoke up. This one was from the Korthan Republic, a species of aquatic beings that lived in specially designed environment suits. Ambassador Martinez, I must confess something. My people have been paying tribute to the Zorgothi for 35 years. We thought it was simply the cost of peace. Your refusal to do the same has inspired considerable debate in our government. We are now reconsidering our own policies. Linda felt a surge of satisfaction. This was exactly what she had hoped would happen. Delegate, every species has the right to determine their own path. But I would encourage your government to ask one question. Does paying tribute actually buy peace, or does it just delay conflict while making you weaker? The Korthan delegate nodded slowly. Its suit's translator conveyed what seemed to be agreement. The council speaker raised one crystalline appendage. The council will now vote on humanity's application. Those in favor of granting Earth full membership status? Linda held her breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's future in the galaxy. Green lights began appearing on the voting display. 1, 2, 5, 7. The count climbed slowly. When it reached 8, Linda knew they had won. A simple majority of 7 was required. But the final count was 10 votes in favor, 1 against and 1 abstention. By majority vote, Earth is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, the speaker announced. Ambassador Martinez, welcome. Your species will have full voting rights and all associated privileges and responsibilities. Linda allowed herself a small smile. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Humanity is honored to join this body. We look forward to contributing to galactic peace and prosperity. After the formal session ended, several delegates approached Linda privately. The Korthan representative was first. Ambassador, my government would like to establish formal relations with Earth. We admire your courage. We would be happy to discuss that, delegate. Earth values honest partnerships. Others followed. Species that had been watching humanity from a distance now wanted to talk. Trade agreements were proposed. Scientific exchanges were suggested. Defense pacts were discussed. Humanity was no longer the new species trying to prove itself. Humanity was now a power that others wanted to align with. Back on Earth, Admiral Patricia Monroe watched the council proceedings from her office. Secretary Gregory Palmer sat across from her, both of them raising glasses of whiskey to toast the moment. We took a hell of a risk, Gregory said, echoing his words from months ago. We did, Patricia agreed, but it paid off. Not only are we in the council, but we have fundamentally changed how other species see us. We are not prey. We are not victims. We are equals who demand respect. Do you think the Zorgothi will try again? Patricia shook her head. not against us. They learned their lesson, but I think they will continue their protection schemes with species that are willing to pay. That is their choice. And it is up to those species to decide if they want to follow our example. Gregory looked out the window at the stars. What do you think history will say about what we did? I think history will say that humanity announced itself to the galaxy in the only way that makes sense for our species. We do not back down. We do not compromise our principles. We do not abandon our people. That is who we are. That is what makes us human. Captain Richard Hayes, now promoted to admiral after the incident, was giving a speech at the Earth Defense Academy. Young cadets filled the auditorium, all of them eager to hear from the man who had faced down the Zorgothi. He stood at the podium looking at their young faces and spoke from the heart. You are the next generation of Earth's defenders. Some of you will command ships, some will negotiate treaties, some will explore unknown space, but all of you need to understand one fundamental truth. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest. We are not the most advanced, but we have something that cannot be measured in firepower or technology. We have principles. He paused, letting his words sink in. We know who we are. We know what we stand for. When the galaxy tests us, and it will test us, we do not flinch. We do not compromise. We stand our ground. We make it clear that there are lines that cannot be crossed. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us free. That is what will ensure our survival among the stars. The cadets applauded. Richard looked at them and saw the future of humanity. They were young, eager, and ready to carry forward the principles that had been established. The galaxy now knew what to expect from Earth: fairness and friendship for those who dealt honestly, but swift and overwhelming response to any threat. In the weeks that followed, more species reached out to Earth. Trade routes were established. Scientific missions were launched. Cultural exchanges began. Humanity was no longer isolated. They were part of something larger, a community of intelligent species spanning thousands of light years. But everyone remembered the lesson from the Zorgothi incident. When dealing with humans, you negotiate fairly. You honor your agreements, and you never ever try to take hostages. Because humanity had made one thing perfectly clear to every species in the galaxy: they do not pay ransoms. Not now, not ever. 5 years after the Zorgothi incident, humanity had become a respected power in the galaxy. The lesson taught that day had been learned well by other species. But lessons sometimes need to be reinforced. This truth became clear when a criminal organization called the Syndicate made a terrible mistake. The Syndicate was a loose network of pirates and criminals from multiple species. They operated in the lawless regions between civilized space, raiding cargo ships and demanding protection money from remote colonies. Most governments tolerated them because hunting down every pirate group was expensive and difficult. It was easier to just accept small losses, but the Syndicate made a critical error. They kidnapped the daughter of a human mining executive. Her name was Claire Norton. She was 23 years old, working as a geologist on a remote asteroid mining operation. The Syndicate raiders attacked the station, killed 12 security guards, and took Claire. They demanded 5 million credits for her safe return. Claire's father, George Norton, was wealthy. He could have paid the ransom easily. Many people expected him to do exactly that. But George was a veteran of the resource wars. He had served under Admiral Patricia Monroe decades ago. He knew Earth's policy. More importantly, he believed in that policy. George contacted Earth Defense Command directly. He spoke with Admiral Monroe, who was now the highest-ranking military officer in human space. Admiral, they have my daughter, but I am not paying. I want you to get her back. Patricia looked at the man on her screen. She saw the pain in his eyes, but also the determination. George, I remember you. You were a good soldier. I am sorry this happened to Claire. We will bring her home. How long will it take? However long it takes. We do not negotiate with criminals. We hunt them down. Every single one. And we make examples of them. Patricia activated a special operations team. Commander Jake Morrison led a group of soldiers who specialized in hostage rescue. They were the best of the best, trained for exactly this kind of situation. Jake had rescued hostages from terrorists on Earth. He had dealt with pirates in the outer colonies. He was the right person for the job. Commander, your mission is simple. Patricia briefed him. Find the girl. Rescue her. Eliminate the Syndicate members responsible. And send a message to every criminal in the galaxy. Do not touch humans. Jake nodded. Yes, ma'am. We will bring her home. The search took 3 weeks. Intelligence officers tracked communications. Navy ships questioned merchants and traders. Slowly, they narrowed down the location. The syndicate was hiding Claire on a hidden station in an asteroid field, 3 systems away from human space. Jake's team approached in stealth. They used a small ship that looked like a damaged freighter. The syndicate station let them approach, thinking they might be potential customers for stolen goods. That was their second mistake. The rescue operation lasted 17 minutes. Jake's team breached the station through a docking port. They moved through the corridors with precision, eliminating guards and securing sections. They found Claire locked in a small cell, scared but unharmed. One of Jake's soldiers, a woman named Susan Cooper, helped Claire out of the cell. Are you hurt? Susan asked. Claire shook her head. No, they did not hurt me. They just kept me locked up. They said my father would pay. Your father did not pay. He called us instead. Come on, we are leaving. As they evacuated, Jake set demolition charges throughout the station. When his team was clear, he triggered the charges. The syndicate station exploded, destroying everything and everyone inside. 43 criminals died in the blast. It was brutal. It was ruthless. It was meant to be, but Jake was not finished. Over the next 6 months, his team and other human military units hunted down every member of the syndicate they could find. They tracked them across 3 star systems. They raided their hideouts. They captured their ships. By the end, the syndicate was completely destroyed. More than 200 criminals were killed or captured. Their network was shattered. Other criminal organizations watched with growing alarm. One group, the Shadow Brokers, immediately issued a statement. We do not operate in human space. We do not target human citizens. We respect the boundaries established by Earth Defense Command. The message was spreading. Humans were not targets. They were predators. Touch one human and you brought down the full weight of Earth's military might. No ransom was worth that risk. Claire Norton recovered from her ordeal. She returned to her job on the mining station, refusing to let fear control her life. When reporters asked if she was afraid it might happen again, she smiled. No, because everyone knows now. You do not mess with humans. We do not pay ransoms. We come for you instead. Her words became famous across human space. They appeared on posters and shirts. They became a motto for Earth's expansion into the galaxy. Simple, direct, true. Meanwhile, legitimate business in human space flourished. Trade increased. Colonies grew. More species wanted to partner with humans because they knew Earth would protect its interests and its people. Security was guaranteed. Agreements were honored. Pirates stayed away. Ambassador Linda Martinez, now serving her 5th year on the Galactic Council, noticed the change. At council meetings, other delegates treated human representatives with respect and caution. No one made threats. No one tried to intimidate. The old patterns of bullying and extortion that had worked on other species simply did not work on humans. One day, a new species applied to join the council. They were called the Drex, a civilization just achieving faster-than-light travel. Linda watched their representative present their application. The Drex ambassador was nervous, clearly worried about making a good impression. After the presentation, Linda approached the Drex ambassador privately. Welcome to the council. If you need guidance navigating galactic politics, Earth would be happy to share our experience. The Drex ambassador looked relieved. Thank you, Ambassador Martinez. We have heard stories about humanity, about how you do not tolerate threats. Linda smiled. That is true. But we also help our friends. We share knowledge. We protect our allies. Earth believes in fair dealing and mutual respect. If your people approach us with honesty, we will respond with friendship. That is reassuring. Some species have approached us with offers of protection. They want tribute in exchange for security. Linda's expression hardened. Let me give you some advice. Real allies do not demand tribute. They offer partnership. If someone approaches you with threats disguised as protection, come talk to us. Earth stands with species who stand for themselves. The Drex ambassador nodded gratefully. We will remember that, Ambassador. Years continued to pass. Humanity's reputation grew stronger. New colonies were established. New technologies were developed. Earth's fleet expanded, not for conquest, but for defense and deterrence. The message remained consistent. We are peaceful, but we are not weak. We prefer diplomacy, but we are ready for war. We want cooperation, but we demand respect. Admiral Patricia Monroe eventually retired after 45 years of service. At her retirement ceremony, the President of Earth gave a speech honoring her contributions. Admiral Monroe helped define humanity's place in the galaxy. She taught us that strength and principles are not opposites. They complement each other. Because we have principles, we know when to use our strength. Because we have strength, we can defend our principles. Thank you, Admiral, for your service. Patricia stood and faced the crowd. Military officers, government officials, and citizens filled the hall. She spoke simply and directly, as she always had. I did my duty. I protected human lives and human interests. I made hard choices. Some people died because of my orders, but I never compromised our principles. I never paid a ransom. I never abandoned our people. That is all any of us can do. Stay true to who we are. The crowd stood and applauded. They were not just honoring her service. They were honoring the principles she had defended. The principles that defined humanity among the stars. In the decades that followed, those principles became the foundation of human civilization in space. Earth joined alliances with species that shared their values. They fought wars when necessary to defend themselves and their allies. They built a reputation as fierce but fair, strong but just. And throughout it all, one principle remained absolutely firm. It was taught to every child in school. It was written into law. It was the core of Earth's foreign policy. Humanity does not pay ransoms. Not to aliens. Not to criminals. Not to anyone. If you threaten a human, you do not get money. You get justice. You get consequences. You get the full force of human determination coming down on you. This simple policy changed everything. It made humans safer. It made their allies stronger. It created a galaxy where those who dealt fairly prospered, and those who relied on threats and intimidation failed. It was not perfect. There were still conflicts. There were still losses. But humanity faced those challenges on their own terms, with their principles intact. The galaxy had learned. When you meet a human, you have a choice. Extend your hand in friendship and they will grasp it firmly. They will be loyal allies and fair partners. But raise your hand in threat, and you will discover why humanity survived and thrived on a dangerous world. You will learn what it means when humans say they do not negotiate with hostage takers. You will understand that some species, once threatened,